My name is Jessica Patrice Gillespie. I'm a publicist, an actor, and a model based here in Chicago.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from the Chicagoland area, so I grew up in the western suburbs, and then I moved back to Chicago for college. So I've been in Chicago proper for about a decade, a little over.
So how'd you start?
Well, I got my start as a storyteller at a very young age. Had been used to reading a lot and watching a lot of films even as a kid, and then sort of reporting on the nuggets from those materials, and or just doing monologues, like retelling the story. And as I grew older, I just became very interested in being able to share information, be able to illuminate people through stories, whether they were fiction or the news, but with a different spin. And so I actually got my start interning at a big agency here in Chicago for PR, and all the while I had been doing a little bit of performance-based theater and dance, and slowly, in parallel, worked my way to being on camera, as a publicist to talk about a client's upcoming event or campaign, and then obviously to being on stage to perform. So my start has been twofold, but always kind of moving together in sync.
How was your support system when you started?
When I started acting, my support system, I think, was very good. I always had people telling me oh, you should be, on camera, you're going to be in movies, you look like so-and-so on TV. And, I would have people who didn't even know that I was acting, that I'd worked with in my PR realm, in the PR world, who were I just know I'm going to look up and see you on a billboard someday, or, and I'd be I feel like people were kind of speaking that into my life, and particularly family members and friends who know me really well. So when I did actually decide to go ahead and start dabbling a little bit more beyond just doing some commercial modeling and acting, the support was there. The cheering section just formed right away, and it just made me feel really good, that I could do it, and I wasn't crazy for maybe getting back to it so late in my life.
Hurdles you had to overcome?
I think the biggest one, for me, being a working professional as a publicist and then trying to create art, is always just having a work-life balance. Being a publicist in a city like Chicago and working in the dining and hospitality industry and working in arts and entertainment, it's work and play, the lines just get blurred so easily. And so a lot of my time can get filled up with working behind the scenes, and then being at events and things like this, and then trying to make time for fun stuff that I want to do. It was I had to slowly figure out what's manageable. I can't take on as many projects maybe in a month if I want to have time to really focus on my craft. If I want to have time to go to classes for acting classes, or if I want to have time to work on my self-tapes or learn a new monologue, or just read books, or go out and people watch or watch TV shows, I'm still working on that one. I do watch quite a bit of film, but because I'm interested in eventually being on a TV show, I need to watch more TV. It's part of my homework. It's part of what helps in some ways to inform the business aspect of my practice as an actor, because acting is an art, but also the other part of it is it's also a business, and I have to know what shows are out there, who's casting them, what are the tone of these different types of shows, what tone kind of suits me. Procedurals are very different than thrillers or rom-coms, and where do I fit in that? So in order to know, you have to look at a lot of things and kind of see what calls to you.
What has consistency taught you?
That it's required. consistency striving for that requires discipline and planning, in order to be consistent. It's one thing to have that be your intention, but you have to know, like, how am I going to be consistent? And then you have to know what's going to be supporting me in that intention. Is it like being more meticulous about my schedule? Is it about asking for help in other areas of my life? Or removing certain distractions that prevent me from being consistent. So establishing some boundaries for myself, and then also just being really mindful that consistency requires more than just saying you're going to do that, or even being motivated. Like for me, I realized in order to be consistent, I need like a plan, something to keep me structured, and so I don't have to suddenly remember, oh yeah, I got to sneak in that like 2 hours this week of self-tapes or monologues or reading or whatever it is. It's like I can be consistent because I know like that's on my calendar. So like everything else for the day kind of gets planned around so that I can make sure I can do that thing.
How has your relationship with Jesus gotten stronger?
I mean, I call his name a lot more. I know that he's listening. I think the relationship's just gotten stronger by me also listening too. Really being still and like listening for the voice, looking for the signs, having the faith to step forward into the unknown. And especially with career, I feel like with acting and just doing your art, like taking that from a space of like, oh, I just really love this and I'm really enjoying it, to like, how do I make other people love this and enjoy it and want to pay for this and want to give me a chance to like be on this project, and what does that take? So at the very least, I know Jesus loves me and created me for this. And so, Jesus thinks I'm a superstar while I'm on this journey.
Yeah. What inspires you to keep going?
So many stories of like amazing actors out there who, they may not have been formally trained, or they may have had just like such an up and down sort of journey, or lots of curves on the path, or actors who got started pretty late. So in like non-traditional starts or taking on non-traditional path, those really motivate me to keep me going, because it's like I'm on a path and it might not look like the next person's, or be the most traditional one, but I know that it's possible. And so it excites me to think about what's unfolding on my journey right now, and knowing that I'm not the only one who may have a journey that's a bit different. In the acting world specifically.
What has been important in your art?
It's been really important in my art to be like really honest and brave, and to maybe express things in my art that I wouldn't ordinarily express just like in everyday real life. And not just in my acting practice, but I try to make time for like a secondary art practice that's not professional. Like I'm not doing it to get paid. It's just something else that I can immerse myself in that's artistic, and that's painting. And so with painting, I actually joined like a little virtual creating group. Like they meet every month. It's led by a local artist here called, her name's Tiffany Wong. She's fantastic. Look her up at Tiffany Wong Art. But in this group, I actually like have a safe space to create something with paint and kind of pour my emotions and feelings into that and like share with the group. And the same way with acting, when I'm in classes, whether it's at Black Box Studios or whether it's with my coach, I try to really use that space as a place to try different things that I wouldn't ordinarily try, and whatever is coming up for me to just let it out, because that's what the space is for. And it's good for me to kind of not hold back in that space, because in so many other times or like situations or environments in life, sometimes we do have to hold back a little in order to like protect ourselves or to protect other people, or to just survive. So, yeah.
What part did you have to learn to love?
Acting. I don't know that I've like had that many that I didn't love. Actually, say that there's a feature that's coming up next year that I'm going to be a part of, and the character is really complex. She is different than me, like very different than me, and so I think in a sense it's not that I'll need to learn to love her, but I'm getting to know her still. Yeah. So, but I've loved every every character. Yeah, so far.
Expectations you had to let go of?
That things happen quickly, that when you do all the things right, you put in all the hours, the hard work, you've got all the support, you've got the right tools, you even got resources. And sometimes even when all things are firing at once, it's like you may still have to wait. So much of this industry is just luck, being in the right place at the right time, preparation, and then the opportunity. But then you got luck. Are you lucky that day? Because so much of it is subjective. So much of it is out of your control. I mean, even coming here today, it's like, can't always be my expectation that even when I get a gig or I know the parameters within how I'm working that it's going to be like this or exactly like this. Letting expectations go is a good practice to have.
So what does success mean to you?
Oh my gosh. So I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day because I was like, oh, this person is so successful. And he was like, you got to define what success means to you. And I love getting that reminder so frequently because it's true. We might have a definition of success, when we're younger, teenagers in our 20s. That doesn't necessarily mirror our definition of success like today. At least for me, it doesn't. I think that success is, making solid choices and going after what you want based on your own personal values and like what's really important to you, and then getting some great things out of it. Some days I feel pretty successful because of things that I've accomplished, or I set out to reach a goal and like I hit it or I exceeded that goal. But in the grand scheme of everything, I look at more of what I've been able to experience and grow from or grow through, and how I've learned and applied those things and evolved. Like if I look back and see that I've made real progress, over a year or 5 years or 10 years, I feel like I'm really successful. And especially if I can look at things around me in my life that are good, like I have good health, I have close family and friends. I've been able to go and do some things that I want to do, and I can help other people. I can give back a little.
Yeah.
Like that feels pretty good to me.
What is your advice?
My advice? Would anyone even listen to that? My advice would be to not be afraid to take things slow. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, especially when you're an artist living in like big city like Chicago or New York or LA. But don't be afraid to really take your time. Dive in and really see what you like, because you can just discover so much about yourself and so much about a thing while you're taking your time to do that. You're not gonna miss anything if it's for you. Don't be afraid to just lean back a little bit and go slow. I think that's why I haven't watched that many TV shows, because it's I want to get the gist of all of this and really understand what's out there right now. What are the popular shows but it's a lot of content to take in, and sometimes I get really impatient. I think that's just the nature of things now. We're so just distracted. We have so many things coming at us through our devices and technology, and everything is just moving so fast. But my advice would be to where you can, to just kind of lean back a little bit more and not be afraid to, let some time go by while you immerse yourself in a thing. yeah, just take your time. Maybe take a little bit more than you think is necessary.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.